What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Backroad Driver YouTube channel. Today we're going to cover some maintenance topics, mainly this rear differential, but we're also going to check out the front. Ford recommends that you change your differential fluid after 150,000 miles. Now, everybody knows that by 150,000 miles, you probably need a new differential instead of changing the fluid. So we're going to get that maintenance done early on my truck, around 40,000 miles. We're going to be able to inspect the differential, make sure we don't have any problems. We're also going to throw on this pretty neat aftermarket differential cover. It's going to allow us to make drains and changes in the future very easy. It's going to make it look a little cooler in the back. And we also pick up just a little bit of cooling. This is on my 21 F150, and this is a 9.75 Ford rear differential. This is also going to be the same steps for a Super 88. And on most vehicles, these are going to be pretty much the same steps that you're going to need to take. So let's get after it. First things first, back here in the back, we're going to need to get these clips off. You're going to notice that 3 of these have studs. And so those are going to have to go back, obviously, to mount these up when you're putting everything back on. One thing you can do to save yourself from guessing is put a little mark in here on the sides for everything, just so you remember exactly where they're going. And make sure you put it on the housing, not on the cover, because it could get wiped off. And we'll get these pulled off and push this out of the way. All you're going to really need to do is hold this up a little bit so you're clear, and we'll pull these bolts out. Now, these bolts are 1/2 inch drive, not 13 millimeters. 13 millimeters will go on there, but you may strip out 1 or 2 of them if you don't use the 1/2 inch, so don't make that mistake. Leave maybe 1 or 2 here in the top. That way, when we crack this open, you still have something holding it, and you're able to have more hands to work with when you do crack this open. So let's go ahead and get the rest of these out of here. Ooh, so
What'd you do? What'd you do?
I was sitting here thinking, guys, we're living dangerously by not already having a pan under here. 99% of the time, you have to crack this open before it wants to come out on you. Well, we just found out the hard way. Sometimes it comes loose. So Brad's going to get from behind the camera and go grab our bucket.
No, you go get it.
So now we showed how amateur we are around here. That's literally not ever happened to me, but it's already cracked. Most of the time, you're going to need to get something to prise this apart, but obviously this one came right off. And you know what, guys? I can already go ahead and tell you why. On these 21s, they didn't use silicone-based seal. This has a regular seal back here that we're going to check out, and that's why it went ahead and cracked. So it was not siliconed on. Anything 2020 and below, I thought came with the silicone sealant. So here we go, and yes, we have a regular seal instead of the silicone. So that's why it cracked right off on me and went everywhere. So have your bucket ready the first time. All right, with the diff cover off, we can take a look at it, and everything seems to be in good order here. Of course, we're not reusing this, so we don't need to clean this up. Good thing is I don't see any metal. Also, looking at the rear diff, all the gears seem to be in good order. There's no chips, there's no metal in here. A lot of times you're gonna have metal build up right here. I just see a little bit of dirt and grime. So it looks like we've caught this one at a very early stage, maintenance in this at 40,000 miles, instead of waiting so late in the process to where we do have any damage. Let's get this thing cleaned up and on to the next step. We've wiped everything down, and I can tell you that there is some darker gear oil coating everything. So you want to wipe this out and get this as clean as possible. And then you're going to have this mating surface. Now, if yours had silicone on it, you're going to have a lot to clean off right here. This one just has some surface rust, and you can tell a lot of it comes off with a scraper. But I'm also going to take a small wire brush to it. And that's fine down here towards the bottom, but you don't want to get any of this in your gearing. You want this to be as clean as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover this up, tuck in some paper towels, shop rags, whatever you got, and we're going to tuck it in here nice and neat. Get everything good and covered up. Now, let's get this cleaned up and we'll get ready to start assembling this thing again. Using a wire brush on a wheel is the way to go with this, obviously. Don't use anything that's gonna mar the surface or anything, but this is cleaning up beautifully. Only problem you do have is if you slip, you can get into your rags. You'll have to stick them back in there, but otherwise, the way to go is a wire wheel for sure. If you guys are finding this content helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up. I'm going to link everything we use in this video, the fluids, the tools, everything that I can think of in the description, so you guys can go check those out. So once you've got your surface cleaned up really well, you can remove your paper towels. Go ahead and go around everything one more time. Make sure there's no debris right in there. Make sure you didn't leave any cloth or paper towels in there, and give it one last clean up. And now we're ready to put our differential cover on. So let's go take a look at it. I did a lot of research looking for a good diff cover. You can find them that are made out of nodular iron, A308 aluminum, and also billet aluminum. Now they're all trying to allow it to take a hit on the trail or something like that and not crack, not dent. But I also wanted to make sure I had one that allowed me to drain it in between intervals so I could make oil changes in the diff very easy going forward. This one came packaged pretty well. Obviously I've had it out of here already, but let's take a look at it. This one is from Speed Lab. We'll put a link to this down in the description. This is a billet cover, but here on the back you can tell that this thing has channels to direct the oil flow to the proper places so they hit bearings. It directs the oil up over the top and back to the pinion bearing. Don't buy a flat back diff cover, guys, because that doesn't get your oil going where it does. If you'll look at the factory cover, they're rounded for a reason. It's to get fluid back to that pinion. So please don't buy a flat back one. I do recommend this one. The quality is there. You're also going to get a fill port so you can view that once the fluid's in there. Be able to fill from the top, drain from the bottom. It's also magnetic, so this one right here has all the features you're looking for. It's also going to come with a gasket, probably a little better than factory, and your hardware, grade 8 hardware. But since we're doing this, I only wanted to do it once. I had a lot of reviews on the interweb say that the guys at Lube Locker have a great product, so I went ahead and got one. So let's compare these. So this Lube Locker, it does have a little bit of I don't know, whatever this coating is. Seems like it might seal a little better, but they're close to the same thing. I've just seen a lot of people have good results with this one, so we're going to use this Lube Locker seal for the differential. We'll get our gasket lined up and slide in our diff cover here. Just got to get it close to begin with. I got one here, get one started right here. We do want to use blue Loctite, so once you've got two on there holding it in place, and put the rest in with blue Loctite and just tighten everything down. We're going to torque these. Actually, you know what, so what I've just noticed putting these stud bolts back on is that you're going to need to use the included bolts because they're longer. This hardware is not going to be long enough to get enough threads going, because as you can see, the thickness of this new casting is a little over a 1/4 inch, and our old was maybe 1/8 of an inch. So, you know, you're going to have to use a longer bolt. Make sure you use blue Loctite on all of them. But we can go ahead and get these started now that we've got our gasket lined up. All right, we got them all on there. Now it's time to torque them. You're going to torque all of these down to 35 foot-pounds. That's regardless as if it's a 975, a Super 88. I don't know about other brands besides Ford, but pretty much most Ford differential covers, it's 35 foot-pounds. Make sure you get those torqued down. There is no official sequence that I know of, but obviously you want to skip around. So jump around to get that good and
Jump
sealed.
around.
Jump around. Your factories were a 1/2 inch drive, but on the Speed Lab, it's going to be a 1/4 inch Allen drive to tighten these down. And you're still going to use your 35 foot-pounds. Just go around in a pattern and you're good to go. If you're going to reuse your factory diff cover and you've cleaned it up and got it back in place, you're going to fill your fluid back here using the factory fill point, which you just take a 1/4 inch drive ratchet in here and you'll twist it out. Basically you'll fill this until your fluid starts coming back out and dripping over. You'll let it rest and drip out, clean this thing up. Probably take some brake clean to get this thing clean again. That way you know if you're having a leak from this area. But since we're filling with this new diff cover, we're going to do it all up here, and we're not even going to mess with this. We're going to just leave it alone. So I'm going to use some Valvoline product instead of the Ford Motorcraft stuff. Ford Motorcraft stuff's great, but it's like $35 a quart, whereas this stuff is 16 bucks a quart. This already has your limited slip additive, so if you do have a limited slip diff in here, you don't have to add anything else extra. This one's still an E-locker, unfortunately, but this is going to be fine to use. Also, Ford Motorcraft calls for 75-85, which is their own specific formula. I've checked, even the guys on Bob the Oil Guy, you know, those kind of people, they say just use the 75-90. You don't have to spend the extra money. And with that being said, there's also different years of these diffs on the 975 and 88 that called for different viscosities. Some of it was like 75, 140, or 130. So the lighter weight oil is going to give you better fuel economy. The thicker weight oil is going to give you supposedly more wear protection and that sort of thing, but it's also going to shear and wear out faster. So for now, I'm just going to go with this 75-90. Since I can change mine on regular intervals, keep an eye on it, that's what I'm going to do. Also got a magnet up here on top as well. It's pretty cool. We got everything filled properly. The level on this one, instead of flowing out, you've got this indicator here, so I've got it right in the middle and this ball floats. I learned the hard way, you don't keep filling it all the way up. The ball actually floats all the way to the top, so you don't want to fill this to where you're looking at all fluid. You want to fill it right halfway. So I did have to drain just a little bit out of the bottom, just a little messy, but other than that, when you're tightening your caps on, don't over tighten them, guys. These particular ones have O-rings, but any of these you don't want to over tighten. Obviously this is aluminum, you don't want to strip any threads, and there's no need to tighten these down really hard. Just good and snug and leave it alone. I ended up using about 2.5 quarts. Like I said, I did have to drain a little out to get this to the proper fill level. I think spec is 2.2 to 2.3 on a 975 diff cover, so we're right in that range. Everything looks good, and now it's time to get this sticker off of here. I wonder how easy it's going to come off. Oh, there we go. Looking much better now, much snazzier. Really good looking product, man. I mean, I'm happy with it. It's going to make maintenance a whole lot easier for me. I'll just be able to come in here, drain next time, look at my fluid color, see what everything's looking like. Also be able to check it here from time to time and refill really easy. This will never have to come off unless we end up tearing something up, which let's hope that doesn't happen. But I think we're done here in the back. Let's move up to the front. Quickly, I'm going to go over a few things. It's pretty much the same process as back here. We're just going to pull the fluid out and put some in. We're not going to remove a diff cover. So up here in the front, there's a whole lot more going on and in the way. I'm going to use a 13 millimeter on this 21 F150 and an 8 millimeter to get this shield off. Depending on what vehicle you're working on, you're going to have a shield right in here usually. So let's get that off first. With covers off, you can get to your front differential, and this is what we're looking for, guys. We're going to take this fill port and we're going to back it out. we're going to use a pump, and you can use something cheap like this from AutoZone or wherever, or you can buy a really expensive one that's $180 that has pressure that sucks stuff out, but it's all going to do the same thing. We're basically pumping the fluid out, and then we're going to refill it. And the reasoning is we can't get this diff cover off in the front because of all of the steerings and everything. So in the front, it's used quite a bit less, but you still want to keep that fluid fresh. So we're just going to pump it out, pump it back in, and cap it off. We'll be done. So I just cracked this open on the front diff. Truck has around 40,000 miles on it. You can see how dark this fluid is. So if you guys let these go 100, 150, 200,000 miles before anything gets done, I can only imagine how bad this oil gets. So I'm going to keep mine nice and clean. This should be honey colored, guys. That's what color this stuff goes in as. So make sure to do your maintenance on time.
Oh yeah.
Nice and thick. Yeah, this stuff's nasty too. Definitely timed for a change. Did have to find another little hose to adapt down that was a little bit more flexible. These bags, I mean, some people complain about them, but I think they're pretty daggone handy, man. I mean, I'm squeezing every last bit out here, and they'll just fit in really tight places, so highly recommended. This differential in the front of mine was supposed to take about 1.8 quarts. We put 1 full quart in, and we're to here on this one, so we're very close to 1.8. We're dripping out now, so we'll just let this drip. You can see it wants to keep coming out. We'll just wait till that stops or it's really close. Clean it up with some brake clean, cap it up, and we're done. Another job in the books here, guys. We'll keep an eye on this thing, check it for leaks over the next couple weeks. We want to make sure you don't have anything dripping. Check out this video. We think you might like it. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.